In a city lying at the crossroads of New York State, in a city battered by the effects of industrial cutbacks, a piece of musical medicine has taken hold of people's lives and hearts. Hundreds of miles away from Beale Street, and even further away from the cotton fields of the Southland, Syracuse, New York, has become the source of a vibrant blues and rhythm and blues scene, the likes of which rivals major cities like Austin, Texas. On any given night, people can find talented musicians pouring their hearts out in local bars, clubs, and restaurants. How did this come to be? How did Syracuse become a blues heaven?
I think that it's partly having to do with the heart and soul of the city. I mean, Syracuse is a blue-collar town. It's well known as a very conservative town, for that matter. But I think that as a blue-collar working town, with people have very, standard values. We're not talking about, crazy hippies, with flowers and peace. We're talking about straight-ahead American mom and apple pie values. I think that those values are right in line with the values of the blues, which are, work hard and party hard. Work hard during the day, work up a sweat, work up a hard driving thirst, and get yourself down to that corner bar and slake that thirst with some frosty brews. And what do you want to hear? You're not going to want to hear, Boy George. You're going to want to hear some good, solid, thumping music of one sort or another, and I think that the blues provides that.
No, you talk to national musicians and they can't believe the local musicians we got here, the talent of them, how good they are.
Bob Margolin said that Austin and any of the other major, blues, so-called blues capitals don't have anything on Syracuse, and I wouldn't know because I haven't been there, but I'll take his word for it. He's pretty much been around the world.
Well, I've been a lot of places and hung out on a lot of blues scenes, especially, and we're going to talk about the blues, just the blues, right? We're talking only blues here. Okay. For the size of this town, I don't think you're going to find another town that's going to have more quality blues musicians than lives right here in this town. That's my opinion. And I would go even further to say that there are more quality blues musicians in this town in a lot of places that are much larger than this city, in my opinion.
Nobody thinks of Syracuse as a blues town. I mean, outside of Syracuse, in other parts of the country, they always ask me, how did that happen? How's the, what's a blues band from New York doing down here? That's what they ask all the time. And I tell them, I said, look, man, we got the blues up there. We got them real bad.
It had to be the Pits. I mean, when you're talking about the blues, you're talking about being sad, not happy and stuff. You look at Syracuse, every factory's closing down, down in Dogger Lake, a lot of stuff to be happy about. But no, I think it's more of an attitude. Some towns could be a little more bluesier. Memphis, New Orleans, Chicago, St. Louis, Austin, Texas, Syracuse, New York. Probably the 10 largest blues cities in the country just named right there,
If Syracuse is really a blues town, let me start by putting it that way. And if they can keep it real, it will go on and on and on.
there's a real important synergy going on in Syracuse, which I do think is one of the main reasons that it's made it such an important blues town, especially given that it's only a mid-sized city. And those things are the Dinosaur Barbecue, the Blues Festival, which is now in its 7th year, and the Blue Wave Records, which has existed for, at least 15 years now. And Blue Wave Records has done that thing that I said is so important, to establish a blues city. It takes the sound elsewhere. It shows the rest of the world what we've got.
I think it's pretty much a fact that it played just with the King Snakes and the Salt City Blues compilation, which I think was really the first recording that, those were the first bands that made an impact elsewhere, and that's what I'm judging it by, not just the impact here, is the fact that those bands and recordings are around the country and around the world, and I think a lot of people think because of those recordings and because of some of the other factors like the Dinosaur Barbecue, I could name like some of the things that really factor into making, this thing maybe even appear bigger than it is, whether it's the Blue Wave label, the Dinosaur Barbecue, the New York State Budweiser Blues Festival. I think those are 3 key things that maybe gives the people in other areas an idea that it's a real big scene here. Tom Townsley in his radio show, he's played a big part, for a long time.
If you look at it in terms of Western music, it's only 12 bars, it's only 3 chords, but if you look at it from the perspective, from another perspective, the textures are very complex. Getting the right sound and feel out of it, really getting into the idiom, as opposed to just sort of like speaking the language in translation, I think is pretty difficult stuff. And you have to study it a long time, and you have to respect it, and you have to try to get inside it and kind of let it take you, So it's like, another way to look at it is it's like somebody trying to write rhyming couplets in iambic pentameter for 300 pages. How do you keep it interesting? A good poet will be able to do that, through enjambment and the phrasing and alliteration and really playing with sound and really knowing the form. But somebody who says, just writing rhyming couplets, that's easy. But let them try to do it for a whole night. Let them try to play 12-bar blues all night long and see how they can keep it interesting and entertaining.
going here, and with the things the King Snakes were doing back in the early 80s. I think that helped create a scene. Then a lot of other people came along, you know. I came into town just as that was starting to happen, threw a band together, and
with somebody else, because there was a lot of
there was seeds all over the place.
Yeah, like Matt Tarble and all that. Somebody was going to do something.
Basically, we were just seeds that landed in the right place, you know.
Put it this way, you opened up a lot of doors and paved a lot of roads.
I want you. That whole band together was, we scared a lot of the, well, like Thorogood said, he goes, oh, the King Snakes, I played with you guys. After you got done, everybody left.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Kalamazoo. Both I don't mean a ghost, but you know she's the toast of Kalamazoo.
Just seemed like so everything, man, that could have happened for the King Snakes that just happened all at once, and everything just came together and worked. Like the radio stations got behind us, you know, when we first did an album.
There was some pushing and shoving.
Yeah, I mean, the agency, sure, we earned it, but I mean, when it happened, it really, everything just came together.
Everybody got...
Through those years, got to play with probably, you name it. I mean, Johnny Winter to George Thorogood to, you name it, all the blues dudes, most all the blues dudes that were out on the road. We got to open up for tons of them, meet them, hang out with them. It's like, you know, incredible experience. You know, you can't take that away. You know, it's all memories.
King Snakes and good night. Thank you very much.
I mean, as far as the heavy blues stuff, Syracuse owes a lot to Otis Lee.
Yeah, Zoggy.
And Don Zog, you know, and Callie James, and Frank Force and stuff, but people don't get that kind of recognition, you know. Everybody always thinks it's them at that time, you know, I'm the shit, you know. And they really do owe a lot to those guys, because they were playing it when nobody was really...
Zog was the first guy I ever heard play.
He was playing it because he wanted to play, you know.
Play blues. I never heard the I never heard that before, and it's shit out of him. He was a scary son of a biscuit. He's still yeah, I mean, I was plunking his little red guitar. Give me that thing. And he did that Muddy Waters, Burning Arrow.
I'll never forget one gig I had when I was living up in Plattsburgh. I had a band up there called Downchild. And we had a gig down in some place called Lion Mountain. So we get on there, we're playing, you know, doing our first set. And the woman who owned the joint comes up and says, "No, that ain't what kind of rock and roll we want to hear. We want something like this." She plays the jukebox. She plays Harper Valley PTA. So I said, where are we going now? I got up there on stage and did a John Mayall song. They gave us all the money and told us to leave before we started a riot.
What a difference. What a difference. I mean, how do you, you know, I mean, are you surprised at the change?
I'm happy. I'm happy. It's a lot better now.
Syracuse has it got what it takes to be one of the top blues communities from the roots of it up to where it is today. And I think it's going to get bigger, better, and of course, so Dinosaur here has done his part in getting it going too, boy. Never had anything even close around this part like this place, in my opinion. You know, to come in here and be able to see top blues artists 5-6 nights a week.
Not a lot of money in the blues. That's why most blues musicians have other jobs, you know. It's not mainstream like rock and roll, jazz, just, you know. The venues we play are smaller. We don't play many 400, 500, 600 capacity clubs like Stylene's, Atlantis, or the Lost Horizon, you know. Legends, Shifties, Rooters, the Dinosaur, you know, all fantastic spots to play, but they're all very limited to what the capacity and stuff. But that's the way blues is, you know what I mean? It's always been a foundation, but it's always been not mainstream. There isn't a radio station you can turn on and just get blues 24 hours a day, you know?
Certain clubs that wouldn't back off, that insisted that blues is going to be the motif here. If you don't like it, don't come here. I mean, they didn't say that, but that seemed to be the message, you know.
Blues is my thing, man. I like blues. So I don't really give a shit what other people like. You know what I mean? Obviously, you can tell from my clientele, we're fairly independent types. I think Dinosaur is the best thing that ever happened to blues in this town. The rest of us, you know, I mean, I'm a small club. With me, a lot of guys will play cheaper here for me because they want to get a lead, they want to get heard, they want to get a lead in, they want to be able to play down the Dinosaur, you know? They want to be able to play Stylene's. And that's cool with me. I get them cheap, I make money, I listen to the music, and everything's cool.
I had a blues band in town in the 70s, and we were the only blues band in town. Now there's abundance of them. Now there's just people all over the world go crazy because we got so many local bands around here. You know, it's just outrageous. You got bars like Legends and the Dinosaur that constantly got them, and the Elmer Beer Garden's doing it now all the time. You know, you got a couple of regular bars, and Shifty's does a lot for the blues, and just skyrocketed right up.
They used to do a little blues festival at the Stone Age campground, and John and his partners, they would do barbecue. And eventually John and his partners opened up a little, well, basically it was a sandwich shop, a little takeout place where the Dinosaur is right now. And, but they only had the storefront there. They didn't have the back bar. They didn't have that back then. And so they kind of grew with the blues scene.
Personally, I've had the pleasure of working with some of the best blues people in the country, you know, and getting to meet them before they passed on, and having the opportunity to play with guys like Sugar Blue and Robert Lockwood and John Grimm and Big Jack Johnson and Gary Primage and Robbie Sherman, Lonnie Shields, you know, Lonnie Brooks. I mean, the list just goes on and on. My own personal triumphs from being part of the Dinosaur, you know.
Luther Allison played here, didn't he?
Luther Allison played here, his son played here, Johnny Clyde Copeland played here, Jimmy Rogers has played here. All their kids have played here.
And they've all been pretty impressed, haven't they?
Oh, yeah. They say it's the best, one of the best stops in the country for them. They love the food, the music, the hospitality. Remember, blues, barbecues, and tattoos and bikes isn't just good food and music, it's a way of life.
I think Syracuse has really come a long ways promoting blues. We got this blues festival I've been working on. This is the 7th year. The first year we had 4 headliners. This year we got 54 bands.
It was very difficult. We had no sponsorship. We had $500 in sponsorship. We had an $18,000 budget. I lined up some bands. I went to all the clubs. I went to the newspapers. Worked a deal with everybody. The newspapers were willing to help. At that time, the Jazz Festival was the only thing going on as far as music. They had just moved. They were... so Syracuse was hungry for another thing, and it had a blues community already. The Dinosaur barbecue had just opened up, so there was this new thing going on, and
we pulled off, and I just keep trying to promote blues for... I've been doing it for over almost 30 years, and I'm not rich at it. I'm just doing it because I love the music. I love being around those people.
Kyle is a very knowledgeable person when it comes to the blues. He, you know, some people say he began the blues here in Syracuse. There's a little argument out there, but as far as I'm concerned, he did. He was the person that first turned me onto the blues, and many, many other people that I know. He's known Duke Robillard and the Nighthawks and everybody for 25 years. I don't think anybody can say that.
Well, I got Pete McMahon up there and me with Kenny Neal. They played with Kenny Neal down in Florida, and they brought him up here to do a couple of gigs with him. And Kenny Neal's one of the biggest promoters going. Me and K.O.B., Elmo Blake, started putting blues bands down at Legends. We got Jimmy Rogers with half of the original Muddy Waters blues band down there. And one of the biggest influences for a lot of guitar players and songwriters, Jimmy Rogers. I can't understand it. It drives me wild that I get to hang out with these people and they know my name and they know who I am, and I see them on the street. Kyle, what's up? How you doing? You know? It's not just business. We become friends.
You know what was interesting is I remember his name, and when he called me up, he said, "This is Kyle Shirley," and I remembered the name. And so we talked and got all the business straight and everything. And when I got off the airplane, when I stepped off the plane, there was this guy standing there, and I just knew that that was Kyle. Wow. I mean, I could just tell. I just, Kyle, and he goes, Gary. You know, so it's one of those psychic connections. You know?
find Gary Sloan, the first harmonica player, first blues band I ever seen when I was 13. I mean, that's what did it for me, these guys. These guys did it for me. They were the premier blues band. They were the only blues band in the 60s in Syracuse. They helped start the Syracuse blues scene here. They turned me onto the blues, and I've been turning people onto it ever since.
Well, when we were playing here before, we had little tiny amplifiers. We were in a room that held about 50 people, and we were playing for basically free food and beer. And we were literally starving.
Literally, yeah.
Literally starving.
I was about 140 pounds. I'm sure Gary was about 120, maybe 116.
Maybe.
Dripping wet.
And if a couple of sisters, I mean, literally 2 girls that were sisters had to come along and started dating us, feeding us, we were wasting away, you know?
We played at Captain Mac's Clam Shack a lot, which was a little hole in the wall kind of place, you know. And so
this wasn't the same.
Was a little different.
Yeah, this wasn't the same. This was like when we played at the King Biscuit Festival 2 years ago.
Like that, yeah.
When I did the second Blues Fest in Clinton Square in Syracuse, I got up on the stage and looked down. There's 7,000-8,000 people out there. Then I knew something was going real good. We had 7,000-8,000 people out. The first year we had a tent in Armory Square with 4 headliners, and that year we had 24 bands, something like that. I knew something was going after the second Blues Fest. I got on the main stage and just looked out the crowd. I knew to myself, we're doing it now. We're getting up there. Now we're one of the top festivals in the world and one of the top blues communities in the whole world.
To me, it's the most important music that's happening in town now, economically. I mean, there are more than 24 working blues acts in the central New York area, and there are at least 5 or 6 clubs that regularly book live blues and rhythm and blues. And one of the things I'm really encouraged about is that it's not just your straight 1-4-5 blues band. It's not just Chicago-style blues, although there's several bands that do that style and do it quite well here. But you have a lot of bands that, like Los Blancos, who does a lot of New Orleans-style syncopation. There's Little Georgie and the Shuffling Hungarians, broken up now apparently, but certainly jazzed up this scene with their big rhythm and blues review style and Professor Longhair kind of feeling to what they do. And there's bands like Stroke that play very much a Philadelphia soul singing kind of rhythm and blues. All these different little branches of the blues tree that I find really interesting, and I gotta give the Syracuse musicians credit for using their creativity to kind of start with the blues as a foundation and then build their own building on it, their own certain kind of building that they want, that fulfills I hope it fulfills their hearts as a musician, and it services the audience as well by giving the audience something different rather than the same old sound all the time.
We're necessarily definitely not a traditional blues band by any stretch of the imagination, you know what I mean? But I think that that's like a fluid term too, you know? It's like, what is the blues? It's not set in stone. there's a lot of unsung dudes, and I think what might happen with the music scene in Syracuse is it may not necessarily blast off as like a recording mecca or a hotbed of blues talent, but I think that it is a hotbed of blues talent on some level, and I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, I think it would just take somebody getting really, getting famous and being recognized, and who knows? There's Matt Tarbell and Dover Comfort. Who knows? They're out there working their asses off,
Yeah, wish you were mine. Yeah, wish you were mine. Yeah. Came home this morning about 4:30. Yeah, nobody knows. Lying on my floor. And I heard some bad talk. Something that you said, pretty baby. Something that you said, pretty baby. Something that you said, yeah.
Matt used to come over here and babysit for my kids when he was like 10, 12 years old. He'd break into my record room and steal my harmonicas and steal my blues records. And he's a testimony right now. He's put out a couple CDs. He's been up and down the East Coast for years. And he's working on a new CD right now so he can go back out on the road in the fall. He's one of the top harmonica players in the world. Mark Wenner says he plays Nighthawk songs. He says Phil and Matt play Nighthawk songs better than they do.
You'll see a lot of guys turning up in the scene nationally, and like TA has, and George Rossi, has gone on to some other things, and doing things on a more national level.
After the sound check of the first night, he asked me about my availability. The rest is history from there. 5 European tours, an album, a handy for the album, and countless road miles later. It's been a great time. Carrie's been nothing short of a pleasure to work with, and it feels like I'm working with him, not for him.
Last night I had myself a nightmare. Last night I had myself a dream, yeah. Last night I had myself a nightmare.
I think we've got some guys that are out about traveling and about and bringing it to different cities and different, Kim Lumbo's she's been down south. Rosie's been touring. You got my brother's band is starting to branch out a little bit, and you got Dave Olson in this town, a drummer that's world class. Platinum albums with Robert Cray. I mean, you've got some people living here. You've got a guy that doesn't get enough credit, Kelly James, and he's out and about. You just don't see him playing around here. He plays all around everywhere, but here, just about. The thing is to take it, take the music elsewhere and expand the perimeters of where you're being heard.
I've been influenced by a lot of different types of music, from
rockabilly to 50s and 60s rock and roll and R&B to jazz, New Orleans. I mean, just the whole gamut. It's all blues. To me, it's all blues. It's all blues-based music. And even the traditional blues artists were influenced by those other forms of music. And if you listen closely, you can find those elements in there. So it was never an exclusive type of music where it was just the hardcore Chicago blues or Delta blues or whatever. I mean, the Delta blues artists sang country songs. I mean, it's a known fact that they go out on the street corners and sing whatever, Good Night Irene or something like that. I mean, they would sing anything. I mean, it was a matter of making a living. The music that I like the most is the type of artist that appeals to me are the ones that fuse all those different elements. And I think that's also a good thing in terms of audience response. I mean, it's a very simple form of music, and if you don't, expose the audience to as many different types or forms of it, it can seem real samey to the uninitiated. It can seem like you're playing the same song all night long. I mean, with my band, we mix it up with all types of grooves and feels and chord progressions and what have you, from New Orleans to to jazzy side of things, the rock and roll side of things, and I don't ever foresee a time where I just restrict myself to one particular form of it. I think in order to put this type of music across to maybe somebody that's not familiar with it, I believe you need to be convincing. You need to play it with conviction, and I think you can. If you do that, you can put it across to probably any age group. I would imagine of the uninitiated. I think that if you do it with conviction, you could probably make a fan out of just about anybody. I think that's important. The other thing is to, I think, entertain people. Show them that you're there for their entertainment and you're enjoying what you're doing, and it's sort of contagious, I think, if you can take that approach to it. Was a phone call on my answering machine. It was funny, I just come back from Austin, Texas. I had seen 3 female
type blues artists, you know, down there, and I had it in the back of my mind. I wish I could find a female that I like. You know, I'm not a fan of soprano type voices, so they have to have a little deeper voice. And she left a message on my machine, and I liked the way it sounded. I met with her for quite a while, trying to get to know her to see if she was a workable situation. I get a big thrill out of working with somebody and that wants to be worked with, you know. So I like working with younger type people that aren't quite developed yet, you know. So with her, I saw the raw talent of her voice, and it was a workable situation. It took a long time. You know, it's like in 5 years into the project now, pretty much, and I think she's finally learning to sing. You know, I mean, not that she couldn't sing before, she could, but I mean, really developing as a singer, as a performer, is somebody that I think people are going to have to start paying attention to.
I had no choice. Really, I had no choice. My upbringing, my everything musical and everything, especially, this is the point, everything non-musical says I gotta do R&B. I am the music. And I know that might sound really, really, you know, what's this guy on? I mean, but people don't understand when I try to say that. I mean, when you grow up black, you don't have a choice. You really don't. And it all just kind of comes. It's all about that feeling that everybody always gets all screwed up with. The feeling that I use to play music is the same feeling that Michael Jordan uses to play basketball, which is the same feeling that somebody would use to cook, which is the same feeling somebody would use to dance.
You gotta live for yourself and nobody else. You gotta live for yourself.
Going to a lot of cities, I have noticed that Syracuse does have a lot of guys playing at least 6 to 7 nights a week, where you can go, believe it or not, you can go to New York City. Well, not New York City, but I've been to Toronto, and there's not that much going on that I saw. San Francisco. When I went there, I didn't see a whole bunch of guys like flooring me, you know? Roosevelt Dean's an original. You know, Roosevelt's an original. Believe it or not, he showed me my first chords on a guitar. He was the first person I ever saw sit on a porch and play a guitar. He lived in the projects right across from us. When I was a little kid, I used to go over and just watch him.
My first band was a band called the Soul Doctors, and guess who my lead guitar player was? Roosevelt Dean. Wouldn't sing. We tried to get him to do background, sing a couple of songs, and he'd tell you, in that voice of his that I'm sure you heard before.
Oh, I can't do it.
I can't do it. I'm a guitar player. I don't sing. Carolyn and Johnny are the singers. Leave me alone. And I eventually left the band and started doing something else, and I looked around and he was singing and playing and moving on up.
I think he is one of the real true showmen in Syracuse. There's certainly some great players out there, and greater players than Roosevelt, and some good vocalists. But Roosevelt knows how to put on a show, and he does it every time. It's not like 3 nights he's going to do it, and if he's playing here locally, he's not going to do it. He puts on a show every night, and when he's out of town, it's a great show. I mean, he is a professional entertainer.
I did a lot of work to make sure that I was good. I spent a lot of time and money to make sure I was good. On the weekend, I would fly to Chicago and jam with the best, learn. And then I would fly to Chicago and buy clothes. All my clothes that I wear on stage is bought in Chicago, Illinois. I would fly to Chicago with $1,000 in my pocket and come back with 2 trunks.
All right, we got Rosie right here. Goddamn, look at that. Woo! That's beautiful. I want that suit, man. Hey, I'll give $250 to anybody that knocks Rosie down and steals his suit from him tonight and gives it to me.
An old man told me one time, said, son, if you ain't good, you ought to try to look good. Said if you look good, people forget all about how good you are. They just like being around you because you look good. And then if you ain't good, you got to make people think you're good. So that means you got to put on a show. You can't just walk on the stage and play. You got to do a show because there's too many other people that just walks on the stage and play. And you got to be different from them. So you got to sit down and use your head and try to figure out what the people like. That means you got to try a variety of things to see what go over. Once you hook into what goes over, then you know how to set your show. That's when you put your show together.
Yesterday
can't explain it, but I'd rather do that than to live. Play the blues, sing the blues. Just give me enough money to get from one town to another, and a shot of CC, and I'm ready to go. Yeah.
I know Rosie very well, and I've seen his progress. I tried to help him as much as I can, you know, from an administrative point of view. You know, I've done computer work for him. You know, sometimes he's asked me for different kinds of advice about different things. I'm just saying that to say I can make an analogy of where he is now from where he was then by saying he's come light years. I think if truth be told and the guy were to be given the credit that he's due, he should be working for a very good record label. It's like a woman winning a beauty contest, you know. Yeah, maybe she's beautiful, but there's somebody that can't even get a chance who's more beautiful. That line all by itself separates the true blues musicians from the ones who is in it for reasons other than sincerity. That line can be identified with somebody like Phil Petroff, the guy that I just worship as a blues musician. I watched that guy play his guitar in the B&B Lounge one time, and you know he's got the remote and he walks around, and he stopped, and he sort of stooped, bent his knees at sort of a 15-degree angle, and he closed his eyes. And I swear to God, I saw a tear coming out of his eye. And nobody but B.B. King and a few other people do that. I'm saying, Jesus Christ, this man feels his music. You feel the blues. So hard to get it. I'm afraid to die. I don't know what's up there beyond the sky.
He's not a school musician. It's just there, you know. It comes from inside him. There's just something there. It's an inexplicable type of situation, but he's obviously somebody who has it inside him, and he's able to get it out there. He's got that aw shucks, bashful type of attitude, demeanor on stage that endears him to audiences, and he's got the guitar prowess to back it up besides.
And I
people ask me, what's your goal, man? And I said, I'm doing it. To show up and play. I don't have a business card. My marketing package is pretty, we don't want to go there. It's all word of mouth. It's all friends coming out to hang. We just, we like to play on the weekends, man. With my friends. It's cool. It's almost like being able to go out, have a few cocktails, casually play a little bit, drop enough money in our pockets to pay for it all, and go home, and then next weekend say, see you next weekend, man. For us, it's play. I mean, I understand people who, and David used to do it on the road. It was work.
Not necessarily. I mean, the only time it was work is when I didn't want to be there, when I wanted to be home. When I'd been out for 6 weeks, it started to get to be work, where I wanted to be just about anywhere else but stage. And that's when I started to think, it's time to pull over. It's time to get off the horse and think of something else.
You got to remember that David's a lifer, though. That's why he's doing this with me on the weekends. If he really couldn't hang or was done with it, he'd have sold all his stuff and just stayed with his family. This is why this is... In fact, David says, this is therapy, man. This isn't worth it.
Singing sometime, and I'm singing a line, or I'm thinking about something from my childhood. I was born and raised in the South, or some tragedy or something that happened to me in my life that wasn't quite nice, and the music is bespeaking that particular thing. I get chills. I get goosebumps on my album. I can listen to Marcia singing sometime. I'm back there playing drums. I miss some of her signals sometime because I'm so much into the music, as though I'm not playing drums, I'm in the audience.
What was her name? Marcia Hagan. That woman could sing her ass off. She's unreal.
Gospel are the only two forms that I know of where you can moan an entire song.
still get the point across. There are no lyrics. There's nothing. You just, and it's, and those two, you can also know music. You can actually just sit someplace and pat your foot and sing the blues. You know what I mean? Not tap on anything other than just a pat your foot. You can do that with gospel. Man, can't get away with it with rock and roll, and you really can't do it with jazz. But you can with those two. It's about every day. It's about everyday stuff. It's about how you live, how you're living, relationships, about working. I mean, every facet of your life can be expressed through the blues. And that's why I like it. Oh man, Jimmy is he is my other half. He actually is. We don't have to talk a lot. He knows where I'm going. You know what I mean? Even if I just thought of it just this second, this is what I'm gonna do right now. All I have to do is actually look at him to connect, and it's done. And not a lot of musicians can that happen with. So you know when you get those. So you're like really grateful, and you're like, yes, I got somebody that understands without ever having to say anything. And I know something about that chemistry that always works for us. It's not always that we get a chance to explore it to the fullest, but it works for you get through with a set and you've got somebody just sitting there. They may not be clapping enthusiastically or running around and screaming, but they look at you and they go, that was so good. And you know, something hit home. And when other musicians actually like what you do, that makes a difference too, because they know how hard it is to put stuff together, how hard it is to get out there weekend after weekend and keep pounding away. So yeah, that's the biggest.
Having people in your own community perform live for you is so much a richer experience, in my opinion, than watching the diaper burping daddies on TV or whatever is going on. I don't know. There's just a lot of stuff which I think is a lot better that's made right here by your own neighbors. You know, and I think that's true in the town. I always get a kick out of it when people are surprised at how good some local musician is, and it's like, where have you been? Trouble, brother. So
some blues. You have the attention, man. I've talked to a few people in there. After I told everybody where I was from, Syracuse, New York, they said, how the hell anything like this come out of Syracuse, New York? Well, this fella right here is from Mexico. Mexico City, Mexico. So how the hell anything like that come out of Mexico City, huh? Y'all real hard down on Syracuse. Y'all hard on us. All right, I got a secret for you. I'm gonna let you in on the secret. Now listen to me now.
Hey, be quiet.
And I'm gonna say this 2 times. I was born in Alabama. So you can't classify a town if I was strong. Jet Hammer playing the blues. I'm a Phoenix City, Alabama born. Pick fun every morning. Fly 3 music. Sure did. I know what it's all about. Let me explain something to you about Syracuse, all right? Before I leave.
Downtown Syracuse, the blues have been done. They sell a whole lot of barbecue. Find 7 nights a week. Downtown Syracuse. Monday, Dinosaur. Midnight Mike, Monday Jam. Where's that singing the blues? But they crowd know who I am. Go on down to Legends, 'cause it's real close to town. Get on to the west side, y'all. Check out the BB Lounge. They sell a whole lot of barbecue. I tell you, got it 7 nights a week. Downtown Syracuse. Friday I put on a virgin, watch Metro play the blues. Saturday I give this band, cause they gotta leave town. I'm gonna have Syracuse on my mind, cause that blues all around. They sell a whole lot of barbecue. They got this 7 nights a week. Downtown Syracuse.
Encourage everybody out there to check out as many live bands as they can, you know, and support it as much. I mean, these people are out there, the musicians are out there doing it because this is what they love to do, and there's to me, it's an honest form of music, you know. It's not affected by music trends. We're not riding the next trend, you know. We're doing this because this is what we want to do, and I'd like to see as many people go out there and enjoy it. It's not downtrodden, sad music, depressing music. To me, it's uplifting, danceable. Anybody that's out there that hasn't checked it out yet should, because it's it's not going away. The scene is here, I think, to stay for a long time.
I'd like to see Syracuse blues scene get more recognized than it is. It's getting there right now with the abundance of talent. I'm thinking of putting like a Syracuse Blues Review together. Put a basic core band together. Get 4 or 5 stars like Ken Limbo, Roosevelt, Dean, Phil Petra, Pete McMahon, or a couple of them, and tour these blues clubs in Boston and Atlanta and House of Blues in Boston. Go to New York City with a Syracuse Blues Review.
there's so many talented people in this world, and I guess I don't even view the music business as a thing of like breaking out and massive recognition and all that shit. It's like if you got a situation where you have, you know, college kids and business people who move through different communities, travel through the area, and eventually you have this established thing where this town has a thing for these good musicians and a good local sound. Yeah, that's massive fame on some level. Even though you may not sell 1 million records, it may not be, you know, published in Rolling Stone. This is a great scene here or whatever. There'll still be good music getting played, and the people who are around to hear it will recognize that. And that's a success of maybe a less lucrative but possibly more noble nature.
The only message I'd like to leave with people is that Syracuse has a good thing going for it. And if they keep it real and keep it natural, use people who are sincere, pay them what they're worth if they can afford it themselves. Be honest with people. The scene is going to flourish. It's going to get nothing but better. But when politics raises its ugly head and start influencing something as good as what Syracuse has going on now, the unimaginable will happen. When something is as ingrained in a city as blues is and is rapidly becoming even more so, you get the feeling that this is irreversible, that this won't change, that we're locked into this no matter what we do. But I truly believe that when politics start playing parts, when people become unhappy, they're little people, you feel that they're not able to influence anything, but you get enough of those people unhappy that the scene begins to wane. Because there's going to come a day when somebody's going to realize Syracuse has this reputation for being a big blues town. I mean, it's going to reach national level. People are going to come in to see this for themselves. Some of what they are going to see is going to disappoint them. They're going to say, that's blues. That's politics.
People in Syracuse don't realize how fortunate they are. Sometimes we take it jaded because we do have such a large variety of music to choose from. And as long as the support is still there, which is, I'd like to personally thank everybody who sees this that supports the blues for keep on doing it. Don't forget to support live music whenever you can.
You know, I just urge everybody to, you know, like whatever your choice of music is, just because I'm a blues fanatic, you don't have to be as much into the blues as I am because that's my life. But I would suggest that if you, whatever your choice of music is, to give it all the support, promote it in whatever way you can. And I think music, because it's so important, not because you can sit down and listen to a sound, I think because it breaks down barriers.
Yep.
You know, that's what I like about it, because it's not a white thing, it's not a black thing, it's not an Irish, it's not an ethnic thing, it's a people thing.
Downtown Syracuse, so the blues they sell a whole lot of barbecue. They got 7 days a week. Downtown Syracuse. Listen.
I talked about y'all some kind of terrible. A low-down woman, and she was in the bed with my best friend. I made all kind of records like that. That was in the 70s and 80s. CDs in the 90s. After Al Green got them hot grits thrown on his ass, I quit that. Now I'm making good records now, y'all. Don't say nothing terrible about you women no more. Let me explain to you why I did that. You see, there was a woman always doing me real bad. Not a man, a woman. See, I ain't never had a man to treat me bad, and I had to sleep with him. So it's always a woman, see? But let me explain something to you. When you get them little pretty nice women, I mean, they're just so nice. And well, you know what I mean. Yeah, I gotta take it easy. I'm getting excited, man. I'm getting excited. Yeah, I gotta watch it.
Hello, young lady. I see you sitting over there by yourself. You have nobody. You look kind of lonely. Maybe I can make you a little night tonight. Maybe we can do a little slow jam. Come on, Paul. I was all alone. I was feeling rather low. I needed someone. Thank you.